Welcome everyone to yet another Wine Steward video, and I wish we could be doing this with you in person and sharing fantastic wine on the mezzanine, or actually we have news. We can share some fantastic wine with you. We're going to get to that in a few minutes, but don't hold your breath. There will be some news coming, and it's going to be good. I think you're going to like what you hear. And let's get to topic number one, because there is so much to tell you now. This time of the year seems to get crammed with more great news about wines coming in and certain food items and so on. It's the rush to the holidays. I feel a little bit behind the eight ball on all the preparations. Maybe everyone does. Like, how do we do the holidays this time around? One thing's for sure, the delicious wines are arriving, and we're gonna have to find some way to celebrate and enjoy these with great friends and family. So let's get to some wonderful products. Let's tell you first about something that's not wine, something that's not actually officially the Wine Steward, but it's an endeavor we're supporting because it's rather personal. So shown this picture to you before. Kathy and I have two beautiful daughters, and this one has a new endeavor. This is Mary Denham, and her new endeavor is called Bloom's End, which sounds a little ambiguous and mysterious, but you're going to hear more. Don't worry. This young lady who has needed to pivot, and I hate using that word because everyone else is nowadays, pivot with the times, has worked for great bakeries, great restaurants. She graduated from the Culinary Institute of America with a baking and pastry emphasis or specialty, and now has decided, I'm not going to sit back and collect checks anymore. I'm going to go out and start something new. I'm going to lease a kitchen space for certain hours of the days and the weeks, certain days of the week, and get up very early in the morning, bake up a storm, and then bring you wonderful product. So Mary is doing that now with bloomsend.com. And if you're not getting a picture of this, actually that might be one way to save this. You're going to see it in an email coming up too. So we're going to get this name all over the place because the Wine Steward will be involved as a pickup point for that product. Let's tell you how this is going to work. And in fact, I texted Mary yesterday and said, can you just lay it out real quick? How does this work? How do people get your goodies? And so I have printed out the text in very big for the blind style font. And here we go. Pre-orders open on Monday mornings. They close when production maxes out. Wednesday evening at the latest, but often by Tuesday evening. In other words, she can only bake so much and bakes according to order. My website is bloomsend.com. It's blooms-end.com. This has a link to my shop and also an email sign up. Folks on the email list are the first to hear when the shop opens. So that's the best bet. In other words, you really want to get these emails. I will be doing croissant boxes, cakes, and pies. And then this is cool too. Some bake-at-home items like biscuits and cookie dough. And in fact, just earlier this week, I tried that out. Took home some of her cookie dough and scone dough and used it in my little old oven, and turned out, man, I look pretty good because I used that kid's wonderful product. So this cookie, I've been, having a little bit every day. Her stuff is delicious, very wholesome, the right amount of sweetness, not silly, over the top. It's kind of like the wines we like to buy. Her baked goods are truthful. I didn't quite finish. So some bake-at-home items like biscuits and cookie dough, and I hope she does the scone dough again because that was miraculous. All pre-order only. Plans are for this to be a bi-weekly occurrence, so we hope she sticks to that plan. And what's going to happen is this coming Monday, you can start to order on that website, and you better do it early and often and fast because, like I said, she will sell out, and there will be the opportunity to do that all the way through Wednesday if supplies last. And then next weekend, not this coming weekend, as of, I believe, Saturday, you will be able to pick that product up here at the Wine Steward. How's that? So some of it might be frozen because that's the stuff that you take home and bake. Some of it refrigerated because some of the frostings for her amazing cakes are very temperature sensitive, and others at room temperature. But the folks downstairs will know your name and what to grab for you. So we hope you'll help us promote this little endeavor. It's not so little actually. She's already cooking up a storm, baking up a storm, I should say, and it's fun to see this happen. I'm very proud of her. And besides all that, besides our just saying, hey, help the kid out, she's not a kid anymore. Yeah, she's entrepreneurial, and she's doing an amazing thing with this. And basically, you're going to be the recipient, the lucky recipient of fantastic baked goods if you participate with marysbloomsand.com. All right, on to the news I was hinting at. The news is we now have outside seating, at least for a short time. The plan is to have it all the time in the not too distant future. But right now, you can, in fact, have a glass of wine or a bottle of wine and a cheese platter, cheese and meat platter out front. So table space is limited. We ask that you not use the table space for too long if people are waiting, but we cannot wait to see you guys out there with glasses of wine in hand. So let's do it. Even this afternoon, you may come down. So we're trying to do this every day of the week. And of course, Thursday through Sunday, we have a by the glass menu. And if you don't see what you love on there, then you simply walk in the store and grab a bottle, and we can take care of you that way. So very happy to say we can finally have some kind of a wine bar experience for you now. It's all out front. We've got umbrellas and nice cozy stools and so on. So let's see you out there. Now we're going to run through a whole bunch of great wine information. This is going to be hodgepodge, but this is fun. This is the time of year when very interesting and delicious things get released, as I hinted before. So let's tell you real quickly that we have just made a commitment to, having tasted them, 3 different marvelous Pinot Noirs from Roar. Roar is a Santa Lucia Highlands, Monterey County producer, owned by Gary Fraccioni, a longtime farmer down there. So Gary and his wife, Rosella, own a couple of vineyards and farm a couple more. And they make single vineyard Pinot Noirs, and they make Santa Lucia Highlands Pinot Noir. That's a combination of those vineyards. They're all delicious. 3 of them have just been released and have been made available to us. They're small production, usually made in the hundreds, not thousands of cases. So this is one of those things where you get my email and you write Jim back and say, I'd like 3 bottles of that one and 3 of that, and say please, because sometimes that'll help us get you something that we kind of have to allocate out a little bit. Not to be dramatic about it. But that's, some of the great stuff is in fact small production, hard to get. These Pinots are beautiful. There's the Santa Lucia Highlands Pinot, then there's the Sierra Mar, and then there's the Rosella's Pinot Noir. So all 3 of them are 18s. I think the Rosella's got some crazy score, like 96 points from Jeb Dunnock. I can tell you that they're all beautiful, having tried them. So be anticipating that email. Limited supplies of Roar Pinot Noirs. It's coming out on today's email. Another thing, you talk about limited supplies. We are in ownership of 4 bottles of this wine. This wine will cost a little bit over $200 a bottle, but some of you will really, really want this wine based on your love of port and the great durability of this single vineyard 2017 vintage port. So this is just the usual single Quinta Tawny that a lot of port producers make. This is vintage year, declared vintage by Taylor Fladgate. I tasted it yesterday. I said, I will happily commit to a 3-pack. And they said, well, it's actually a 4-pack. So we will have 4 bottles as of later today. This is one of them. What may be exciting to some of you, and I think it always helps, is this did get, in fact, awarded 100 points by Robert Parker, this particular wine. I think I would have given it the same score, having gotten to try it yesterday next to their other wines. Their other wines are all great. This is fantastic, very durable. You could have it soon, I guess, but I think you would want to lay this very special 100-point wine down, of which we only have, as of a couple hours from now, 4 bottles. Taylor Fladgate, one of the great producers in Porto. I got to visit them a couple of years ago, and I also got to visit these guys. So this is a port that's a little more attainably priced, you might say. This is Croft. We made a trip up the Douro River to check out this particular producer. You can see that this bottle's been opened before, and in fact, it will be opened several more times. The great thing about Tawny Port is you can keep coming back to that bottle for sometimes 3 or 4 months and get the same wonderful experience. Tawny Port is already pre-oxidized, so cannot theoretically really lose any more of its major character. So this is Tawny Port. We just talked about a fantastic high-end ruby port. This is obtainably priced, I think $19.99 down to $17.99 for wine club members. Croft Reserve Tawny, And I'm just going through the exercise that we will be going through many, many more times, because Eric and Ennis and whoever is down on the sales floor, upon seeing somebody's interest in port in general, will say, hey, you want to try one? And we'll escort you upstairs and give you a spot of port. How about that? You'll be able to try this wine, and we won't feel bad about opening it over and over again, because it's going to stay good. Lovely. Wow. It's got that classic caramel and a little bit raisined quality that a tawny will have. Tawnies are the wines that you want to have maybe with creme brulee, vanilla-based desserts, bread pudding. How about that? Be great with bread pudding, or on its own. Actually has some bread pudding qualities all by itself, so you could just call this dessert. Wow, at 10:30 in the morning, that still works. So if you're interested, ask Ennis, ask Eric, ask Dawn, ask Sharon, ask Mia, ask Melissa. If you can just quickly come upstairs and very privately have a spot of this craft tawny port before you buy several bottles, of course. The next announcement is to say that tomorrow night is our Zoom event that we're so pleased to be putting on once again with our friend Tom Kelly. He's going to whiz us through 6 different bottles of Italian wine. Those 6 bottle samplers are still available. I would love to have maybe 10 or 12 more of you sign up, because that's about how much wine we still have hanging out downstairs that's available to pack up for you. It's a 6 bottle set of Italian wines. 1 is white, 5 are red, including this wine right here. This I would call a very bitchin' Rosso di Montalcino. Rosso di Montalcino could be called Brunello di Montalcino's little brother. That kind of slights this wine. This wine shouldn't be the little brother to anything. This is 100% Sangiovese that says so, from a fantastic Tuscan vintage. Tuscany just killed it in 2016. 15 was very good, 16 rocks. And so we're gonna taste that vintage and that place through this wonderful wine, which is but one of 6 terrific Italian wines. So you can still sign up. All you have to do is go to thewinesteward.com, and you will find that product on the events page and the International Reds page, and you'll be able to order that sampler. I can say that Italian wine, as you probably know, is so much better with food, so don't hesitate upon coming in to pick up your wine, visiting our cheese and meat cooler, and perhaps asking us what we think about what would go along. We didn't create a special food pack for this, but you really, really ought to be noshing with these wines. So get some great Italian or otherwise cheese, and definitely some prosciutto or some speck, that's smoked ham. It will just go wonderfully with this whole line of wines. And Tom Kelly, what a great speaker, what a great advocate for his products. He's fun to listen to, and you're going to come out knowing a lot more about what's going on in Italy. It's a vast wine country that just has so much to say that we do need a coach sometimes. So we're lucky to have him coming back. That's tomorrow night, 6 p.m. We get your name and your email. We invite you to this Zoom event. And won't it be fun? What else do we have to say? Well, per what's coming in, this is just kind of random, but I want to tell you that it's time to start practicing for Thanksgiving. What does that mean? A lot of the Thanksgiving wines, or wines that I think would do really, really well with Thanksgiving dinner, are pouring in right now. We are doing this intentionally bringing them in intentionally in order to build a section upstairs, up front, at the front of the store, that has turkey-oriented wines. And so some are rosés, some are whites, and some are red wines. And this is a brand new Gamay that is certainly going to be displayed up there soon. This is where the rosé display has been, and this is the time of year when it kind of transfigures into a rosé, red and white for Thanksgiving section. So Eric's already been busy building this section. And like I said, this wine from the Loire Valley of France is almost certainly displayed there now. I invite you to try it out. Take this wine home, maybe give it a slight chill, and enjoy a Gamay that's not from the Beaujolais region, but actually from the Loire Valley of France. This is bright and fragrant and cheery and a little bit crisp. It's a medium-bodied red wine that doesn't need to be huge. You don't really want big oaky wine with your Thanksgiving dinner anyway. This is the idea. Have a great Beaujolais, or have a Gamay from the Loire Valley, or I cannot wait to stand near that display and guide anybody who wants to hear to help you find your good Thanksgiving wines. And this is certainly one of them. I just love it. It's a small importer that we've just met, and we like him a lot, and we want to give his wines a push because they're good. He deserves it. So there's that. Here's a wine that may or may not work with Thanksgiving, but I want to tell you about it because it's kind of a reawakening for me. I was honored to serve wine at a small private event that was outdoors where people were safely spaced. It was up in Ruby Hill, and that was maybe about a week ago now, and we took people on a tour of Spanish wines. And this Spanish wine, I had a feeling was going to nail it, but I hadn't actually tasted it in about a year and a half. It's been sitting down on our shelf, and some people know it, but most people don't because it doesn't have a lot of familiar names. This is called Abadía Retuerta, and it's from Ribera del Duero. No, it's not. It's from Sardón del Duero. This is a producer who decides they don't want to be in Ribera del Duero because there's too many winemaking regulations attached to that region. Sometimes regions are a little bit behind the times and haven't updated their rules yet. These folks want to be more innovative and see what else can work really well in the area. So they say, fine, we don't get to be called Ribera del Duero, we're going to be Sardón del Duero. As far as region, it's right next to it's part of the area, all right? The cool thing is, this is Tempranillo, and it also has, illegally in Ribera del Duero, a little bit of Syrah in it. So I think there's some Cab and Merlot as well, which you can do in Ribera, but the Syrah part, no. So they say, screw it. We are going to be innovators, and maybe we're going to teach Ribera del Duero that Syrah belongs in that region too. Maybe they'll sign up for Ribera at that point. At any rate, this beautiful red wine killed it for those folks who didn't necessarily know Spanish wine all that well. And I think they found some familiarity here because the wines from this area, the Tempranillo from here, can go a little darker. Can you see that? Much darker than, let's say, the typical Rioja, which doesn't need to be dark. It doesn't try to be dark. It's more suave and more red, if you will. This is more purple, a little more like a California Cabernet, perhaps. Actually, I think of Sonoma County Cabernet when I smell this wine. It's got that beautiful earthiness and maybe a sense of tobacco as well. There's dark plum and blackberry. It's exotic. It smells so good. I had this 2015 for the first time in a year and a half, and I went back the next morning to the keyboard and texted or emailed my rep for this wine, and I said, I'll bet it's gone, but you still happen to have the 15? I'm sure you've moved on to 16. He said, Jim, we have moved on to 16. However, there are like 3 or 4 cases left of that 15, and I agree. That wine is singing now. So sometimes by the time we've run out of something, that's right about when it's coming into its own. So I made a grab. I went ahead and bought 3 more cases of this wine that I think you should know now that it is in its wonderful prime. Give it some air. I'm going to leave this bottle sitting open and be checking it out all day. And I can tell you that having had it in a glass for about 10 minutes now, it is saying more and more. That night up in Ruby Hill, I had it in a decanter, and that really helped. Beautiful balance. It's fairly full-bodied, but it's not trying to be over the top with oak. The oak is in there, but it's integrated. There's graphite, there's dark fruit, there's a mysterious smokiness. This wine's very gratifying, and yet intellectually gratifying as well. And I think you could do it with wonderful winter foods. So as we get into those cool days that I hope are going to happen soon, please anticipate having some of this Abadía Retuerta. It's really bitchin' good. So here we go into nearly the last topic of the day, and that will be the fact that Wine Club wines are ready as of right now. The October wines are ready for you, hundreds and hundreds of wonderful friend members who are supporting us that way. We have 6 different monthly wine clubs, and you get 2 bottles of wine every month that we choose for you. We also want to represent what we found, justify these wines that you've probably never heard of. So besides getting a 10% discount off of everything you buy here as a Wine Club member, you also enjoy, I hope you enjoy, reading notes that I have just finished and sent out to the Wine Club members. So believe it or not, I'm on time with the notes this month. I write an entire page each about each one of those wines. So that's 12 wines that we have to choose for you each month and represent in writing. And I did find a couple of typos, but too bad. The PDF is already out there. It's in your mailbox. I hope you will read the notes. And I thought maybe we could just breeze through a few of the wines. We can't talk about all 12, of course, but let's just tell you what some of the clubs are getting. Let's just point this one out. The Red Collector Club is getting a cool wine. They're getting 2 wonderful wines. One is $110. at the winery, and we're charging $79.99 for it. The Red Collector Club pays $89.99 per month for their wines. So one way or the other, we're finding you amazing value, right? So this is not the $79.99 wine from Sullivan. This is in fact Zenith, and I think we're selling this for $41, and that's before the wine club discount. Zenith comes from a young lady the same age as my older daughter, Elaine, a young lady whose father has been making wine in Bordeaux for a very long time. So father has come over to California, makes a wine called Verite. He's got, I think, 700-point wines under his belt now. And his daughter, Hélène, actually, that's Elaine, and her name is Hélène. She makes beautiful wine in her own right now for Zenith. And so just know that she used to be her father's assistant winemaker in Bordeaux, so she's got Bordeaux persuasions. Know also that this wine is from the Knights Valley area of Sonoma County, and so you're going to get a non-Napa, a little more earth, a little more, mixture of fruit and smoke and soil and all those really intriguing things that happen in that area, besides just fruit. And know also that this wine is 50% Cabernet Franc, along with a good dollop of Merlot. Those are the two main grapes that are grown where she's from, Saint-Emilion, on the right bank of Bordeaux. And so she's kind of honoring her heritage in that area with a blend that is similar to what you would have in Saint-Emilion, Bordeaux. The style is too, knowing that it's Cab Franc makes total sense when you smell this wine. This is intellectually stimulating besides delicious wine that you really must eat with to know fully. But I love this Zenith. This is the thought-provoking wine of your Red Collector pack this month. Let's tell you about white wine real quick. Of course, there's two of them, but we only have time to tell you about one. This is called Pinot Bianco, which is the same as Pinot Blanc, and it's also the same as Weissburgunder. If you happen to be having it in Germany, that's what they may be calling it. And what is really cool is it has a nice screw cap that's too easy to open during a video. The wine's not even cold, but you know me, I like to try wines, white wines, even at room temperature to fully know them and to realize whether or not the vendor's trying to pull a fast one by over chilling the wine, so it's often like, why are you pouring this so cold? And you get suspicious. I'm not suspicious here. This is everything. Wow. Apple blossoms, faint sense of honey, sweet tarts, kind of a nice level of herbaceousness as well. So there's a whole mixture of things, and I think what's prevalent is apples, like a whole bag of apples. If you picked a whole bag and stuffed your nose in there, maybe there's some of that, and some lemon, and there's a lot to say about this Pinot Bianco, and you can't usually say much about Pinot Blanc or Pinot Bianco. It's kind of thought to be a workhorse grape that's not always great. It's only great when it's grown in wonderful dirt. When you have dirt that is more rock than dirt, this is runoff from the Dolomites, the southern alpine area that is in northern Italy. And so you've got mineral-rich, especially calcium soil going on here, and that is what makes Pinot Blanc or Bianco better than normal, because it can be just Van Ordinaire sometimes. It's got a delicious fleshiness to it. There's no oak, by the way. It's lush, very lush, and slightly, ever so slightly bitter. And you want that bitter, kind of like you get a bitterness in a gin and tonic, just to keep the mouth awake, make you hungry, and to keep the wine from being too flabby. This is a nice white wine. I can't wait for you to have an exception to the rule for Pinot Blanc or Pinot Bianco or Weissburgunder, whatever you want to call it. Let's tell you about two wines so quickly from Washington State. We're giving you two Washington State wines in the California Wine Club, which we are slowly starting to call the West Coast Wine Club or perhaps the Pacific Coast Wine Club. We'll think of something. Because we are in fact sourcing Washington, considering the wonderful value we get from up there that sometimes California can't quite match. This is a Cabernet called the Jack. It even has a screw cap. So it is going to be easy to open. I've already had enough of this wine, at least for the last couple days, so I'm going to just leave it alone. But I can tell you that this is the easygoing wine. You don't need food necessarily with it. It is just fun cocktail Cabernet called the Jack. And it's freaking delicious. And the irony is the wine going right next to it, Luc, is a Merlot. And wouldn't you think the Merlot would be the easygoing, harmless wine? This is the wine that has the real authentic substance of Washington State in it. It is structured. It's gutsy. You want to give it a little bit of air. You need to give it some food to fully know it. It wants a big steak. It is serious red wine, Merlot or otherwise, from Washington State. By the way, I think Washington State is perhaps one of the 2 or 3 best places in the entire world for Merlot. And it will probably have a major role in recovering the reputation for that grape that's unfairly maligned, right? Let's tell you quickly about a Wine Adventure Wine Club wine. This is a Rioja, mentioned Rioja earlier. This does everything Rioja in the low 20 price point ought to do. It gives you that wonderful tobacco thing and plum and the redness, not purpleness of Tempranillo. And it is especially suave. It is mellow. It is just so easy. It is a texture wine. I talked about this in the Wine Club notes. Yes, it's got fun things, fun descriptors as far as flavor goes, but the real effect of this wine is how smooth and velvety it is on your palate, especially after you've decanted it for about 20 minutes. This is beautiful wine, especially with roast lamb. So look forward to that Rioja, you Wine Adventure Wine Club members. I gotta sit lower. This is special, and I know we're spending a lot of time on this video, but I gotta tell you how special this is. This means so much to me in so many different ways. I've been following the wine of Pierre-Jean Villa. That's the dude's name. Pierre-Jean is his first name, and Villa is his last. I've been following his wines for several years now. Really like what this Northern Rhone producer does. And when it came time to start creating a few visits for our itinerary during our southern or our Rhone River trip from Lyon down to Arles that we did in 2018, I was hoping like crazy we'd be able to nail a visit to this small producer. That's not always easy to do. These small guys, they try to do everything, grow the fruit and render it into wine, and they don't have a lot of time for visitors. Pierre-Jean very kindly gave us an audience and showed us how he works his vines up on his steep slopes of the Northern Rhone, and then he took us inside and showed us many, many good wines. I came back there even more sold on what he does, and I've been buying them ever since, carefully, because Northern Rhone does cost a little bit more than the Southern Rhone, and yet those who love it are just so in love with it that they cannot resist. This is nominally priced for the Northern Rhone. It's right around $40. It dips under $40 with your Wine Club discount. But besides being awesome 100% Syrah from the Northern Rhone by a small and hardworking and thoughtful producer, it's sold to us by a wonderful woman who is not just a wine rep, but a winemaker. She has made wine for Equinox, and that's a sparkling wine producer in Santa Cruz. And she's made wine for Bonnet Dune and for Dash Cellars. She's got degrees in life and environmental sciences. She is a brainy whiz. She's a beautiful woman. And right now, she's kind of taking it on the chin because most of her accounts are restaurants, not retail. And so, like, where can her company sell some wine right now? Even if it's great wine, what's the home for that great wine? Well, we are for this. The other thing that Abby does is she actually lives on and with her husband maintains a vineyard in the Santa Cruz Mountains. That vineyard on which they live in a trailer, believe it or not, they're saving their money so that they can run their own wine program. They actually have their own wine label. They may not pick this year because of the smoke taint. So they've taken her on the chin because of the pandemic and because of the fires. We had this opportunity. She came to us with this wine saying, like, if you buy enough, like for club or something, we will give you an unusually good price on this wine. And I said, I already love the wine. I don't need any more convincing. I love the guy and we love Abby. So everything's great about this beautiful Syrah. Have it in a Pinot Noir glass. You can drink this now and decide whether or not you want to order more. I think you will decide to. And it'll be helping a great French producer who's small, a great importer who's small, a young lady who could easily use our help right now. And don't do it for charity because it's delicious. You'd also be helping the wine steward too, but you do want this wine. This is gorgeous Saint Joseph by Pierre-Jean Villa. So that does it for wine. Final topic. What are these doing here? I just harvested a lot of eggplant this morning. And we will carefully bag it up for you ourselves and offer you as much eggplant as you would like. The little round guys and the little skinny guys are yours for the taking. First come, first serve. So glad you do everything you do with us. And I've been told that I should end videos for some technical reason by doing this one more time. So I will say thank you, sign off, and then pose, all right?